Well, hello, my friend. Welcome back to another episode of the EntreMD Podcast. As always, you are in for a treat, but this is a super special treat because I have Dr. Alicia Shelly back on the show. She was on the show, what was that, a year ago after she had
Year
just
ago.
joined the EntreMD Business School. She had just launched her podcast and all of that. And, so much has happened since then. And I was like, let's get her back on. So welcome back to the show, Doc.
Thank you so much for having me. And it's so funny you say it was a year ago because that seems like forever. We've been doing big things
We
this
have been
past
doing
year.
big things, right? Time flies when you're having fun.
Exactly, exactly.
Now, if someone didn't listen to the first episode, so they don't really know who you are, would you introduce yourself to the listener?
Yes. So my name is Dr. Alicia Shelly. I'm a board certified obesity internal medicine physician, and I am the host of the Back on Track Achieving Healthy Weight Loss podcast and the CEO of Thrive for Life. And so where we're helping women not only achieve feeling healthy, but just also being happy in where they are. And so we're helping women to get back on track with their healthy lifestyle. And so interestingly enough, I actually started my podcast in July of 2021. And we are like 80 episodes in. Oh my goodness, where has time gone? And since that time, I've started online courses. I actually have now moved into speaking, where I'm speaking about a healthy, my own wellness journey, but then also my Ironman journey. Because boy, oh boy, when I started it, I didn't know I was going to learn so much from this journey, but it was a journey. And so it's been like you said, it's been a busy year. It's been a busy year.
And I'm glad you're here to talk about all of it. And you know what I think we're going to talk about first? We're going to talk about this Ironman business. So listen, let me tell you this, okay? We had the Vision Retreat in 2021, the EntreMD Business School Vision Retreat, and we all came in, to Hilton Head, South Carolina, minding our own business, chilling by the pool. And Dr. Alicia had run like 22 miles or
Yeah.
something like that. And I was like, what is wrong with her? Like, what is wrong with her? She's like, they're like, she's trained from an Ironman. I'm like, why? Okay. So talk to us about this Ironman business, like, why you did it, why you started training for it, when you did it, and all of that.
So up to this point, so I started off in 2016 basically on my couch. I could not have fathomed running a 5K at that point. And so I started the couch to 5K with a friend. And then after that, it just started where I was like, oh my gosh, if I can do a 5K, I can do a 10K. If I can do a 10K, I can do a half marathon. If I can do a half marathon, I can do a marathon. And then I thought after marathon, maybe you take a break. But I realized I just enjoyed the challenge of saying, hey, I can't believe I did that. But then I went on ahead and did it. And so that was kind of what spurred me or kind of kickstarted this Ironman journey where I was like, wait a minute, I saw this one gentleman, his name is Chris, I'm not going to pronounce his name, but Nikic, I want to say, where he has Down syndrome and he worked for over 1.5 years and he was able to run an Ironman and complete it.
Oh,
And I'm thinking
wow.
to myself, this man has Down syndrome. Clearly, he has a clear disability and he was able to complete this. I thought I could never do it. But guess what? If he did it, I can do it. So I started for my 1 year journey of training for it. And it was not what I expected. Like I was a runner. I've done a marathon before, no problem. I've done actually 6 marathons. But anyway, who's counting? but
I'm counting because I have done zero marathons. I am counting.
And so the funny thing is, at the Vision Retreat, I was training for the New York Marathon, and so I had to get my 22 miles in just because we were having fun. I didn't realize that there was alligators in that area, so I had to. When I got out there, I was like, I had to get back to the hotel, so I was running quite quickly. But when it came to that Ironman journey, I didn't realize the small things you had to start with, like learning how to ride a bike again. Like everyone remembers having a bike, riding a bike as a kid, but we never had to strap our feet into the pedal. And so they have this thing called clipping in when you're doing the road bikes and when you're into cycling. And that was the worst thing for me with bicycling was starting and stopping because I could not clip my feet in properly and I would fall. And then when I had to stop, couldn't clip my feet out to fall. So every time I was going to stop, I felt this fear of falling. And it wasn't until I started working with my coach where we started to she's like, just clip in one foot. Just do one small thing at a time. And then once you get used to that one small thing at a time, then put the other one in. Then before you knew it, I was doing like 50 miles, 100-mile bicycling routes, and not feeling any fear anymore. I wasn't afraid that I was going to fall on my face. Now, mind you, throughout this year, I fell at least 8 times. And I counted each and every one. But the fact that I didn't stop at the first fall or the second fall, I was scared. Don't get me wrong. I didn't want to get on that bike again, but I kept going, and I started with just the small baby steps of clipping in. And then once I overcame that, kept moving forward. And so the other thing I had to learn was swimming. Now, I hadn't swam since I learned how to swim at the YMCA as a child, and I hadn't really swam since then. So swimming one length of a pool, I had to take a break. I was like, oh, this was a long length. This was a long length. But even with that, as I kept moving forward, my coach kept, increasing the distance. Now I'm able to swim 2.4 miles. Actually, I did over 4,000 meters in the lake, though, swimming. And before, I couldn't even imagine that. I got tired after 125 yards, which is one length of a pool. So, but it's just starting that slowness, starting with the baby steps, focusing, knowing you have that goal, but focusing on the small things and mastering them was what helped me to get to this Ironman distance. And so it was character development. you had to overcome. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dr.
Now you remember that I think after you did your Ironman or something, I was like, okay, talk to me about business lessons, right? So anybody who's listened to the podcast, I pull a lot of analogies out of, basketball, which happens to be the sport I watch because my husband watches basketball. And so when you finished your Ironman, I think not too long after or before that, Argentina had won the World Cup. So I said, Dr. Sweldo, so what business lessons did you get? Right. And so talk to me about, because you must have been making these correlations between what you're learning here and how you apply those to business. So walk me through some of the business lessons you pulled out of doing your Ironman.
So the first business lesson is, number one, you have to believe you can do it. No one's going to believe in you. If I talked to all my friends, they thought I was crazy. They couldn't. They're like, what? You're going to do an Ironman? No. Like they just thought I was crazy. So you have to be the one that believes, and you have to believe, and you need to have that why you believe it, because there are going to be times when you're like, what do you mean I have to do this? No, I don't want to do it. But when you go back to your why, it just solidifies everything, and it helps you to keep moving forward. So number one, it's your belief, your unwavering faith and belief. Number two, don't be afraid to fall down. Don't be afraid to fall down. Don't be afraid to make a mistake, to fail, to not hit your goal. It's going to happen. This is life. But like I mentioned, getting on that bike, every time, starting and stopping, I was afraid I was going to fall, but it never stopped me from keep moving forward. Sometimes you have to fall in order to move on to that next step. And you won't get to that step unless you fall. I had to fall in order to learn how to not fall.
Oh, that I'm writing that down. I had to fall to learn how not to fall.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness, that is so good.
Because if I didn't fall, I wouldn't have that fear and make those different changes so that I won't fall again. So you have to learn how to not fall. Number three, you need to take on challenges. Don't stay in the status quo. So one of the challenges, like I said, I'm new to bicycling. And my friend gave us a free registration to do the Grand Hincapie bicycling race, about 50 miles. What they did not tell me was that I was going to be riding on a mountain. Okay. Before is I did a little small mountain called Trash Mountain that's out here on the Silver Comet, and it nearly took me out. I was praying to Jesus. I was like, oh, Lord, I'm not going to make it. I don't know how I'm going to ride this Ironman. It's not going to work out. But I had to overcome that one because I didn't know that this mountain was coming here. It was Suck Creek Mountain was what we had to ride up. And when I say we were riding up for a good straight 4 miles, I couldn't stop. I had to keep going. And had I not just took on the challenge and kept going, after that experience, you couldn't tell me nothing. I was like, this little hill right here is nothing. I done went up a mountain and I survived. So don't be afraid to overcome the mountain. Because you may feel like this thing that you have to do, this podcast you have to start, this online business, this private practice that you have to start is so massive. But once you get started, nothing can touch you. Nothing can touch you. So you just have to keep going. Don't be afraid. The third thing, don't stay in your comfort zone. If I had stayed in my comfort zone with just using the Silver Comet where it was just flat and it was easy, I wouldn't say Silver Comet is not all easy. They did have that Trash Mountain, but for the majority of the part, it's a flat course. When I actually did the Ironman and it was hilly, I was prepared. I was like, hill what? Let's move it. So
I've done a mountain. What's a hill?
I know, right? I've done Suck Creek, yeah. Because the hill, you're like, oh, I know how to shift the gears. Because the one thing when you're learning how to shift the gears so that you can work more efficiently. And the same thing with your business. Sometimes you're gonna kiss a lot of frogs. You're gonna go through different personnel. You're gonna go through different programs, EMRs. But sometimes you got to figure out what didn't work so that you can move on to what will work in the future. So those are just a couple of things that I learned in business just from this Ironman journey.
Yeah, go for it. I heard one more coming out. Go for it.
Okay, one more coming out. The other thing is be prepared. So the one thing, so I did the Ironman Chattanooga in September. And in that, I was ready. I beasted. The swim was the best swim I ever did. I got on the bike and I'm like, yes, I got this. These hills, what? Mile 46, I got a flat tire. And I was like, nope, take a deep breath. We know how to change the tire. So I was changing the tire. Somebody came and helped me. We got the tire changed. I'm like, ha, let's go. I'm moving around. Mile 79, another flat tire. Now it's a 116-mile course. This second flat tire stopped me. I couldn't move because I had no one to help me. I didn't have a spare tire. I only had one spare. Clearly I needed 2 spares. And unfortunately, what happened with this race was that it was raining so bad that all the pebbles came up. And so there were people on this course that had 4, that had 2 or 3, flat tires. People were just getting flat tires after another. And so I ended up not finishing the Ironman Chattanooga. I got a DNF first time. And it was tragic for me. But then afterward, I realized this is just a moment in time. This is just my one stop. This is just a pause. Because I didn't complete this, it wasn't because I wasn't prepared. I just couldn't. Who has 2 flat tires in the same tire in the same race? It's never happened to me before. And so after that, I was discouraged. I'm not going to say that. But then I actually did an Ironman half in Florida after that and killed it. It was the best time ever. And it was because I didn't allow this discouragement or this quote unquote failure to stop me from doing what I needed to do. And so I knew that I was prepared for this race and was gonna finish it regardless. But some things happened, but I got back on track. I got back on the wagon and now moving forward. So my next race, because I still have another one, we're still finishing this Ironman. They will call me, you are an Ironman in October of 2023 though. So, but the thing is that you're going to have disappointments. You're going to have failures, and it's okay. That's how we move forward. If you look at the guy who did the light bulb, he had so many different failures before he hit the right one, but he had to fail in order to get there.
Okay, so this is like this is like a whole summit, not even a master class, right? It almost feels like we should make a worksheets out of this and have people workshop this episode. But you know what I like about everything you said is that that's the true journey.
Yeah.
Like, I want you to think about the fact that we're here, we're celebrating, we're talking about lessons from Ironman and all of that, and you're still planning to finish one.
Yeah.
Like, you
Mhm.
haven't allowed the fact that you had two flat tires define your journey as somebody who's going to complete an Ironman. Like, you're like, okay, I would have killed it anyway. I had two flat tires, whatever. I did a half there. I'm still on the move and I'm going to complete one. And to you, you're not interpreting any of this as failure. It's just part of the journey. And as entrepreneurs, if we can think that way, think about how many times somebody will say, well, I did a Facebook Live and nobody came, so I quit. Right. Or I did an event and I offered, I made an offer and one person bought, so I quit. Or, how long do I have to work on this business before I give up on it? And it's been 2 months. You see what I'm saying? And what you're talking, especially the last one, you're talking about having the right relationship with failed projects, right?
Mhm.
Because you're not a failure, but that race failed, right?
Yeah.
And failed is even in quotations, right? Because you still learned what you need to learn. You're probably not going with one spare the next time you go. She's like, I'm going with
I
four.
had four spare tires in that half Ironman. I was like, no, ma'am, I got them on my back. I got it all over. I was like, listen, I'm ready. I got
Like,
a
if both
smile.
tires want to go out twice, I'm ready.
I got four. I got four spare tires this time. They're not going to catch me unawares next time.
But you see what I'm saying? It's about having that right relationship with failed projects.
Yeah.
Because if you can have that, you can enjoy your journey because you're enjoying this, you're excited about it. Right? If someone's listening on the podcast, if you see her on YouTube, she's just like all lit up. And somebody else, that would be so devastating that will be the end. It'll be like once upon a time in 2022, I wanted to do an Ironman, it didn't work out.
Yeah. But
That's
this is
so
just the
powerful.
speed bump. This is just the speed bump.
Just a speed bump. It's just part of the story. And we're making a
Or
story out of it. Look at that. So I
exactly.
want you to talk to me about something because something else came up that I think is really powerful for entrepreneurs to understand. You talked about starting your 1 year journey to train for an Ironman, right? And so when we talk about, business, whether that's, I want to cross my first million, or I want to hit this 5 million mark, or I want to finally get to 8 figures, right? Sometimes there's a runway required for you to become a different person, a runway required for you to get the capacity to do different kinds of things. For instance, lead a team, vision casting, build company culture, and all of those kind of things. So how do you manage through that season when it's like I'm doing a lot of things, but I don't yet have the results? So how do you stay consistent for that year? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. And so the one thing, like I said, I started my podcast in January of 2021. And I wasn't one of those podcasts that picked up where 6 weeks later you had 100,000 downloads. In fact, I think I was struggling the first year or the first 6 months, I had like 3,000 downloads. And so now, I've had over 10,000, well, no, close to 10,000, not quite there, close to 10,000 downloads. And what I realized is that you just have to stay consistent. You have to realize that eventually, with you being consistent, you keeping doing your weekly podcast, your weekly newsletters, your weekly lives, that somebody may look at what the web the content that you're weaving and say, this is the person for me. And in fact, I had somebody reach out to me about being a podcast host, a co-host of a national brand. And it's because they looked at what I had done before. So it may feel daunting, like none of this is going to work. But if you stop, then you're not going to see the fruits of your labors. If you look at a farmer, they have to plant, they have to weed, they have to water, and it takes months for this plant to grow. But when it does, they see the fruits of their labor. And the same with business. You got to be consistent. You may not see it in that moment, but when you do see it, you're like, it was all worth it. It was all worth it.
I love it. I love it. And so I know your story. So I know that now that the main aspect of your business is you're working on is you as a speaker. And it's so fun. We say business, right? And all of these things, but you are still working. Yes. Are you PRN?
Yeah. Nope, full
She
time
works
career
for
people.
she works full time, people. Okay, she's an entrepreneur. Okay, and she's doing Ironman and speaking and podcasting and all the things. Okay, so now in the beginning, because I want you to talk about something here. In the EntreMD Business School, we talk about putting all your effort into the business idea you're working on, because if it is not the thing, it is the thing that will lead you to the thing.
Mhm.
Right. And so when you started off, you were like, I really want to do courses and all of those kind of things. And you started doing that and all of that. And you did a podcast and you're throwing your weight behind that. And then now at some point you came to this thing of, you know what, I'm a speaker. That really is who I am. So how did going all in on phase one ultimately end up preparing you for phase two, right? Like, it's not like you're starting from scratch so talk to us about that.
So I decided to do the podcast, and just being able to speak on a daily basis with the podcast. In order to get more people to view you, you go on other people's podcasts. So you start interviewing with other people, you start getting your name out there, and eventually, in 2022, I had started with my online courses, and I realized it was so stressful. Like, I wasn't looking forward to it. This was just, oh, it's too much. But I had an opportunity to speak for the Obesity Medicine Association. And when I got up there, I was nervous, of course, but the nerves left. Like, I was in my element. I realized that this may be where I need to be. I didn't know this before, but when I was talking to people I was talking about weight regain, it was passion. I truly enjoyed it. And I loved looking at people's faces. And there was probably about 200 people in the room. And I would, sometimes I would have been like, quivering in my seat, but I wasn't. And I realized that, you know what, I need to focus more on speaking. This doesn't cause me the same anxiety as online courses do. This made me feel like I'm in my element. So sometimes you just have to keep trying, because you just never know what will work.
Love it. And you want to talk to us about your goal, because yeah, I'm just still recovering from your our live session in the business school last week. It's like, this is my goal for Q1 of 2023, and what do you say happened
Yeah.
to it?
So my for Q1, my goal was just 2 to 3 speaking engagement, paid, non-paid. And I started in December trying to work on it so that I can meet the 2 to 3. I have like 5. So and for the year it was only going to be 10. I'm like, well, you know what? Maybe I need to double this. maybe I'm playing small. I need to keep doubling this and keep trying, because when you go out there and you keep reaching out to people, telling people what you do, people are like, oh, I need a speaker, come speak. And so right now I'm not saying no. So if you do need a speaker, please come see me. But I am available. I'm available. And so, but I think it's just sometimes in our minds we play it safe, but sometimes we need to just go out and just give, like, what you call your BHAG, your big, hairy, audacious goal, and then just remind yourself, who's that person that I need to become in order to reach that goal.
Yes, and that's the $1 million question. Who do I need to become? And start working on that and become that person. I love it. Okay. So you're one of the people who, this is your second year in the EntreMD Business School, right? Like, so you're a master. Some people say we're elders. You're an elder. So talk to us about why you're still here, and what you would say to the person who maybe has listened to the podcast for a while, started a business, all that stuff, and has thought about the business school but hasn't made a decision yet.
Yeah. So, I, first of all, EBS is my tribe. I feel so at home here with not only you, Dr. Una, but with our EBS sisters and brothers that are here. I feel like it's such an environment where you can grow. If you have a question, people can answer it. I mean, we would sit down and just do like a 15, 20-minute Zoom call, be like, hey, can I pick your mind on this? And people are just willing. People are humble. It is a great organization to grow. And I feel like I've grown. When I see people doing big things, I'm like, okay, they can do it, I can do it. So I don't even get intimidated. I'm like, listen, they just showed me it's possible. I'm clearly playing small. I need to be playing bigger. And so it's just the community. The reason why I'm here is the community. I don't think I have not found a community yet that gives me the same, just the same, I can't even describe it, but just the same feeling and that I get. And the same, like, we give so much to each other. When we meet in person, Lord, it's like a coaching session. You leave converted. Let me just tell you, like, you're just gaining so much from other people. People sharing their stories, people sharing their everything they're going through. It makes a huge difference. And so that's why I'm here. That's why I stayed, because I love the community. And then on top of that, these are just fabulous doctors who I'm able to collaborate with and just, get coached. Sometimes they give me free coaching.
I love it. So what would you say to the person who's like, I don't know. I mean, Dr. Alicia seems really cool. I would join for her, but I'm not sure.
Listen, there are more cooler people out there than me. I really wish I was cool. Okay. But I'm not that great. I mean, there are other people who are just so fabulous, who have been able to just see them blossom in their brand, in their practice, like just going over, hitting that $1 million mark. And you can be one of them. You don't have to be sitting there. You just have to take action. You just have to sign up. You won't regret it. You won't regret it.
Actually, you just need to take action. You just need to sign up. Well, you have gotten to hear from the most amazing Dr. Shelly. I am so grateful that you came to share your story, and all the analogies between, the Ironman and business and all of those things. And you really are a phenomenal speaker. Like, you really are. It's fun to watch. I have the like front row seats. I get to watch people's evolution, and it's like the best ever to watch, So thank you for sharing that. And really, if you have been thinking about the EntreMD Business School, no better time than now, right? And so your first step would really be to go and apply. It's entremd.com/business. The link will be in the show notes. Go check it out. And Dr. Alicia Shelly, where do people find your podcast?
Back on Track, Achieving Healthy Weight Loss. At any place you see you listen to podcasts, you'll find it.
All right. And where else do you want them to go to find you?
DrShellyMD.com.
Awesome.
And please contact me if you're looking for a speaker.
Love it. And she, as you can see, she's a great speaker. Okay. Thank you so much for coming on and for sharing your story. I truly, truly appreciate it. For everyone listening, again, if you've been thinking about it, go apply. Just go take this step, okay? Don't hold back. I literally had someone, Dr. Shelly, I don't know if you've heard me talk about this. I had somebody who reached out to me, and he was like, I almost joined 2 years ago, but I didn't. And I've watched all my friends, and I see how they're doing, and I really wish I did. I said, okay, we can't carve a spilled milk. Go apply. Let's start fixing that right now. And I'm not saying that to say, like, get intimidated or anything like that. But the truth of the matter is, if we truly, we say this is going to be our best year yet and all of those things, if we truly want that, then we need to do something different. Okay. So entremd.com/business. Dr. Alicia, thank you again. Thank you for coming on. And everyone, go share this episode, go subscribe to our podcast, and I'll see you on the next episode of the EntreMD Podcast. Hey, if you love listening to the EntreMD podcast, I want to invite you to join EntreMD On Demand. It is my signature subscription program that gives you access to a library of business courses designed to help you do one thing as a physician entrepreneur, and that is to thrive. Just head out to entremd.com/on demand, and I'd love to have you join us. See you on the inside.